An ordinary schoolboy gets stuck babysitting a haunted cell phone as a favor and accidentally traps a legendary ghost hunter inside it. What starts as a prank gone wrong turns into a bond that costs him everything and forces him to grow up faster than any kid should have to. This is the story of Kanglam, the weak boy who ends up fighting monsters from another dimension with nothing but a broken phone and pure stubbornness. Act 1. A phone that Showdown exists. The story opens gently. Two old men gamble together while a young woman nearby reads her newspaper, quietly trying to ignore their bickering. When she notices an elderly ghost struggling to buy a drink from a vending machine, unable to interact with the physical buttons, she steps in to help him, unaware that the two old men are, at that very moment, mourning a recently deceased friend, not realizing his spirit is standing right there with them, watching over the very people missing him most. Elsewhere, Kanglam is a normal student watching his classmates squabble over a magazine when a boy named D-Soo approaches, desperate for help. A cell phone one of his friends found has been terrorizing them for several nights straight, and he begs Kanglam to take it off their hand, clearly at his wit's end. Kanglam agrees, warning him it won't come cheap, already sensing an opportunity to make a little money off the situation. Back home, arriving on his bike and telling his grandfather he'll be along soon, Kanglam settles in after a quick bath and remembers the deal he struck with D-Soo. He's now the proud, unwitting owner of a haunted phone with no idea what he's actually gotten himself into. Elsewhere, in another dimension entirely, a woman named Barry commands a small army of hunters through her computer until an assistant reports paranormal activity near a young hunter named Kanglam. The same name, a coincidence that will matter far more than anyone realizes yet. Curious, she decides to look into the situation herself rather than delegate it. Act 2. The voice inside the back home, browsing the web. Kanglam is startled to see the room fill with small, cartoonish ghosts drifting around casually, stirring memories of a childhood, surrounded by unexplained paranormal activity, something that always quietly worried his mother, though she never fully explained why. After dinner with his grandfather, curiosity gets the better of him, and he starts investigating the phone properly. After some trial and error trying to unlock it, he discovers something wild. He can capture ghosts by taking their picture and release them again the same way, essentially turning the phone into a strange, magical camera trap. Practicing this new trick for a few seconds, Kanglam gets a text message from the phone itself. Someone is living inside it, and they're trying to communicate with him directly. Digging through old photos, he realizes classmates who'd been photographed with the phone had actually fainted afterward, and confirms his suspicion when he finds a group of furious boys outside blaming D-Soo for the phone's chaos, demanding answers. Undeterred and oddly enthusiastic about his discovery, Kanglam keeps tinkering, even skipping dinner with his grandfather to work on it further, much to the old man's confusion. Eventually, he releases whoever's trapped inside, only for the figure to attack him immediately and aggressively, forcing Kanglam to snap another photo and recapture him on pure reflex. Act 3. The Ghost Messenger's warning. The two begin communicating by text message back and forth. The captured hunter explains his job, capturing wandering souls and spirits that roam the world. Using the very phone Kanglam now holds as his weapon and prison combined, he recounts how he ended up trapped inside it in the first place, and gives Kanglam one absolute, non-negotiable rule: never release the ghost puppies also sealed inside the device, no matter what happens or how tempting it's. Naturally, being a curious kid with zero self-control, Kanglam ignores this warning almost immediately and starts playing with them like pets, blissfully unaware of the danger he's inviting. The next day, Kanglam brings his friends along to investigate the location where the phone was originally found, treating the whole thing like an adventure. Using the device, he starts experiencing flashes of the past involving his own mother, alongside the growing realization that the ghost puppies he freed the night before are creating a serious, escalating problem in the real world. Rushing home to check on his grandfather first, he then decides to confront the ghosts himself despite having no real plan, only to find they're far stronger than expected now that they've grown. Luckily, their leader calls them off before anyone gets seriously hurt, and Kanglam seizes the moment to finally come clean to the hunter about everything that's what's happened, releasing him to take charge of the situation properly. Furious over the disobedience that led to all of this, the hunter beats Kanglam and storms off alone to deal with the ghosts himself. Act 4, the shrine panicked. Kanglam's grandfather rushes upstairs to check on his grandson, worried by all the commotion, but Kanglam insists he get to safety and races off on his bike toward the confrontation without a second thought for his own safety. By the time he arrives, the ghost puppies have reunited with their mother, dramatically boosting her size and power to something far beyond what the hunter originally expected to face. The hunter is already locked in a brutal fight, realizing quickly that he can't win without going all out, and activates a technique called the shrine, sealing the entire area in magical energy to contain the fight. When Kanglam shows up trying to help, despite having no combat ability whatsoever, he only manages to put himself in serious danger, forcing the hunter to divide his attention, protecting him mid-battle instead of focusing fully on the enemy. Channeling one of his most powerful attacks, the hunter finally manages to cast a decisive, exhausting spell. But in the resulting chaos, Kanglam goes missing entirely, and the hunter searches desperately for him, fearing the absolute worst has happened. Just when it seems hopeless, Kanglam manages to capture the beast himself using the hunter's dropped phone, saving his own life in the process through sheer luck and quick thinking. Equal parts relieved and furious at the boy's recklessness, the hunter congratulates and scolds him at the same time, then asks for his phone back so he can properly finish the job, only for Kanglam to immediately snap a photo and trap him inside it all over again, unwilling to let go of his new companion just yet. Act 5. A dangerous mote in 2 weeks pass uneventfully. Barry, having seen photos of the earlier battle circulating through her network, decides to unwind with a shopping trip, splurging at the city's biggest malls and trying on outfit after outfit. While chatting casually with her assistant, she accidentally reveals confidential information about the case, unaware her supervisor is listening in nearby, leaving her mortified when her supervisor later reviews her files and finds nothing but fashion research inside. Meanwhile, Kanglam has settled into a new hobby, hunting ghosts for fun, using the trapped hunter's phone like it's just another mobile game. After a satisfying haul of captured spirits, he tries locking the hunter away again for good, but this time the hunter dodges the photo entirely, having learned from experience. When Kanglam finally corners him, the phone starts malfunctioning badly. Turns out even magic phones have limited memory, and it's reaching capacity. The hunter takes it back to explain the problem properly, then gives Kanglam a genuine scare by briefly shifting into a grotesque, amorphous form before returning to normal, just to make a point. Startled and shaken, Kanglam runs home, checks on his grandfather to make sure he's okay, and later, before bed, quietly promises to protect him no matter what happens next. The next day at school, Kanglam is pulled into cleanup duty by an annoyed classmate, then interrupted again by Disu, this time showing him unsettling news about someone sharing his exact name. Back at his grandfather's house, a mysterious, provocative man shows up looking for Kanglam. Not finding him, he turns his aggression on the old man instead, threatening and eventually fighting him, before swiftly capturing him inside his own cell phone and vanishing, deliberately breaking a photo of Kanglam and his grandfather on his way out. Act 6, Lost Elsewhere. Barry spots the hunter in a crowd and rushes down a flight of stairs to catch up with him, only to be momentarily distracted after accidentally knocking her own phone to the ground, and finding shocking news waiting for her on the screen the moment she picks it back up. Meanwhile, Kanglam races home, searching everywhere for his grandfather, rummaging through every room and calling out again and again with no answer. Realizing something terrible has happened, his grief turns instantly to resolve. He's going to get revenge, no matter what it costs him. At the same time, the hunter, desperately trying and failing to reach Bari with an urgent report, watching hundreds of unanswered messages pile up in her inbox, is ambushed by the very villain responsible for the grandfather's disappearance, who doesn't bother with a single word before attacking. The two clash violently, and mid-fight, the hunter reveals his own name, Kanglam, coincidentally almost identical to the boy's. He tries to explain he's not truly part of the enemy organization, the Ghost Messenger, and isn't there to fight, but the villain doesn't care in the slightest, and attacks with a summoning spell meant to end the fight quickly. Finale, 2 dimensions. One fight, Kanglam runs desperately toward the battle, nearly getting hit by a car along the way. The driver, seeing his tears through the windshield, lets him pass without a word rather than stopping to scold him. When he finally arrives at the scene, he finds Kanglam badly
badly beaten and in mortal danger, barely holding on. The villain, spotting Kanglam and recognizing him from the broken photograph he took from the grandfather's house, immobilizes him with a spell and taunts him cruelly, openly admitting he's responsible for the grandfather's death. Enraged past the point of thinking clearly, Kanglam bites down on the villain's arm hard enough to actually draw blood, forcing the villain to finally take the boy seriously as a threat. Just as Kanglam breaks free of his own restraints using a sophisticated transformation technique the villain hadn't accounted for, to end things quickly and permanently, the villain shoots Kanglam point blank at close range and immobilizes him again with the same spell used on Kanglam, studying his opponent's unique transformation technique with cold, clinical curiosity before deciding to finish him off for good, regardless of how impressive it is. Just as he moves in for the killing blow, Kanglam surprises him from behind, stabbing him with the very weapon Kanglam fights with and rendering the villain's mobility almost completely useless. Kanglam follows up immediately with a single devastating blow that sends the villain hurtling into another dimension entirely, in what's later described as one of the most epic fights either of them has ever witnessed. Thanking Kanglam sincerely for his help, Kanglam prepares to say goodbye, but Kanglam stops him, begging desperately for him to bring his grandfather back to life somehow. Kanglam's expression darkens immediately. Kanglam has unknowingly broken one of the Ghost Messenger's strictest laws, forbidding humans from clinging to the dead and trapping their souls in the world of the living against the natural order. He orders the boy to run before he's punished for it, right as the villain reappears without warning, dragging Kanglam bodily into his own dimension for one final decisive confrontation. There, Kanglam reveals his true form for the first time, and the two exchange every technique they have in an all-out final clash that shakes the very fabric of that dimension. The villain summons a monstrous Shadow Rider as a desperate last resort, but Kanglam overcomes it anyway, claiming ultimate victory against impossible odds. As the dust settles, Kanglam steps into the sanctuary Kanglam created, flooded with vivid memories of his family and the childhood that quietly shaped him into who he's become. That's the story of a boy who just wanted to help a friend get rid of an annoying haunted phone and ended up losing everything, fighting demons from another dimension to make sure nobody else has to lose what he lost, armed with nothing more than a broken phone and pure stubbornness. If you want to see what happens next for Kanglam and Kanglam, go check out the full series for yourself and let me know in the comments. Would you have broken the rules to try and bring your grandfather back too?